So have you ever noticed that smartphones aren't just as exciting as they did years ago? There was a time which every new model introduced a groundbreaking feature that changed the way that we used our phones. But now it feels like that each year we're getting some small incremental updates. So what's the reason? Why aren't the smartphones pushing boundaries as before? Let's break it down. So the first reason is that the innovation rate has slowed down. Think back to the early days of the smartphone era. The first iPhone, that was a real revolution. It introduced a full touchscreen interface when most phones had a physical keyboard. The main competitor, BlackBerry. Then smartphones came with multi-touch, fingerprint scanner, edge-to-edge screens, or even foldables. Each year something felt new and game-changing, but not anymore. You know, the difference between last year's model and the new one is minimal. Sure, the batteries last longer, the cameras got better, the processors got faster, but everything looks the same. There's not a big improvement or a leap that changes the way that we use our phones. Even the features like high refresh rate screens, bigger batteries, or better AI cameras feel like more of a refinement rather than just true innovation. You may ask why, because now we've reached the point that smartphones are really good. The need for drastic changes isn't there anymore. When you already have an ultra-fast processor, a display with 120Hz refresh rate, or a solid camera, or a battery that could last all the day, no, the battery couldn't last all the day. What more do companies need to add to their phones that blows your mind? So the next reason is higher prices with less exciting features. Another big issue is that how expensive smartphones become, especially the flagships. Back in the day, you could get the best smartphone on the market for like $600. Yes, $600 back in the day equals to something like $1,000 or so. Oh no. But now, the brand new flagship smartphones like the S25 Ultra or the 16 Pro Max easily cost over $1,000. And what's frustrating is that despite the higher price, you're not necessarily getting the features that justifies the price. Instead, we've seen that companies are cutting corners. They're removing some standard accessories from the box like the charger and the headphone, and the first company was Apple and everybody is following it, and other than that, they still charge more for the phone itself. Some brands even limit certain features for the most expensive model, forcing you to pay extra for the features that used to be standards. Meanwhile, the funny and the good thing is that the mid-range smartphones are also catching up, especially those between $400 and $600, minus the iPhone 16e obviously. Those are getting 90Hz or even 120Hz displays, great battery life, better camera, and a decent performance. This makes it harder to justify for the customers to pay twice or even 3 times on a flagship when the experience just isn't that different. So if phones are getting more expensive but they just don't bring any new features, no wonder why people don't have the same excitement about the new releases anymore. So the next thing is that companies are playing it safe. One of the biggest reasons that innovations has slowed down is because companies don't want to take risks anymore. Back in the early days, companies were killing themselves to be the first to introduce some new crazy ideas. Like Samsung came with curved screens, LG came with modular phones. Some of the ideas flopped, but they at least tried. Now brands are more cautious. They don't want to release a new phone with a bold new design or any experimental feature if there's only one chance of it failing. Instead, they focus on small guaranteed improvements, slightly better cameras, slightly bigger and better displays, or faster processors, or slightly thinner bezels. It's safe and predictable, and I gotta say, it's boring. Even the foldable phones, which seem to be the next big thing, haven't evolved as fast as people expected. Some brands haven't even entered the foldable market. Yes, I'm talking about Apple. And the ones that have are just refining their designs rather than just coming with new huge improvements. Like, tell me the difference between the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and the Z Fold 3. Exactly, nothing. Another reason that we're not seeing some huge upgrades is that companies are focusing on making their phones look better rather than just do more. A lot of effort in recent years has gone into refining designs. Thinner body, smaller bezels, and more premium material. And sure, yeah, it might be nice. Who doesn't want a thinner phone with better material? But in the meantime, we lost some practical features that people actually needed. And you might be asking, what features? For example, the headphone jack in the micro SD card is gone from the most flagship smartphones. And some other mid-ranges have lost it also. Let's be honest, it's not just because of the innovation or making space inside the phones to put a better component or a bigger battery. The companies didn't even do that. It's because companies are trying to push people toward the wireless headphones and cloud storage. They want you to pay more. Performance has also reached the point to say that whenever a new smartphone comes with a new processor, you're not gonna feel any improvement at all because your phone is already fast enough to do all the work you've done. Even the games are in the same story. You can play some heavy graphical games on a 3-year-old iPhone without any issues. So the next thing is that other tech is taking the spotlight. Another big factor is that innovation in other areas of tech has shifted the focus away from these smartphones. Years ago, our smartphones were the center of everything. Nowadays, we got the smartwatches and wireless earbuds, and even the AR glasses are trying to take over some of that space. Features which are used to be phone exclusive are now handled by other devices. Health tracking, we got the Apple Watch, it does a pretty good job. Or on voice assistants, we got the Alexa or Apple's HomePod. Even the video calls, which became huge during the pandemic, was also common on laptops and tablets more than the phones. As tech evolves, it feels like smartphones aren't the main focus for innovation anymore. Companies are investing on the next big thing, and that means that phones are becoming more of a refined tool rather than just a platform for new crazy ideas. For all the advancements that we've seen on these smartphones, battery life is still one of the biggest weaknesses. Yes, fast charging has improved a lot, like we've seen 240 watts on a Realme smartphone, or the new battery technology which is called the silicon carbide, but the actual battery capacity on the smartphones hasn't changed much. We still have to charge our phones every day, or if you're a heavy user, maybe twice or 3 times. I do 3 times. Now let's compare it to the other areas of tech. For example, laptops. They're getting batteries that could last all day, especially with the Snapdragon X Elite or on the Ryzen AI or the M series MacBooks, which has the best battery life ever on a laptop. Even the electric cars are pushing the battery technology forward, but for some reason, smartphone batteries haven't improved at the same rate. Part of the problem is that, like I said, brands prioritize thin design over the bigger batteries. A thicker phone with a bigger battery that could last 2 or 3 days, just like the upcoming Pixel 9a, would probably sell more, but companies for some reason think that people care more about having an ultra slim device. And my proof is the existence of the Galaxy S25 Edge and the upcoming iPhone 17 Air. One last reason that we're seeing less innovation in smartphones is the growing focus on sustainability. In the past, companies encouraged people to upgrade their smartphones every year, but now with the environmental concerns are becoming more important, companies are relatively making their devices to last longer. Now, other than that, the new software update is helping to extend the life of the older models. Hardware is getting more durable, and even Apple and Samsung are promoting the trade-in option to keep people from throwing away their old phones. This is awesome for the environment, but also means that companies aren't as motivated to push the radical upgrades every year because they know that people aren't upgrading as often. So at the end of the day, smartphones are still improving, but in a very small and less noticeable way. The big revolutionary changes seem to be happening less often, and looks like that's not gonna change anytime soon. But I wanna know, what do you think? Are we getting some big leaps and changes in the smartphone industry, or we're gonna see the same phones for like another 5 years? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as always, thanks for watching. This is WhiteForge, and see you in the next one.